This is an independent podcast. Too Naked to Hide by Nina J. Course. Chapter 1. Sunrise. A hell of a day. The hell of a day. He woke up in a bad mood. The phone hadn't rung yet as the bells started to chime in the distance. That meant it wasn't 7 o'clock yet. He rubbed his face, took a long breath, and reached to the nightstand for his glasses. The room was immersed in darkness as usual. The blinds were shut. He had slept on his right side again.
The wrong side, she had told him once.
And now his arm was numb. He was still groggy, and his bad mood increased by the minute. It was going to be a hell of a day, he knew it. He looked at his cell phone screen. It was dark. No text messages that morning. No text for the rest of the day either. No messages. It wasn't long ago when text messages came, always expected, yet still always a surprise. Constellating his days, they were tiny points of light onto which his daily life found direction. His cell phone would vibrate gently, and immediately he would open, read, and smile. His reply would travel back right away. Small anchors tying them together, bright dotted lines across the distance that divided them, but also connecting, creating unspoken alliances. 160 characters to send a tangible thought, to chase away loneliness, to continue living, to smile and maybe build something. Like the milestones of ancient Roman roads, they had marked the journey, indicating the distance they had traveled. Minute points of light that now vibrated silently in the cell phone memory, often egressing suddenly in his mind. Now that they had stopped coming, they slowly surfaced to his consciousness, only to be then chased down into the depth of a dark sea. He would eventually forget them all. A little at a time, he would metabolize them, crush them, switch them off, suffocate them. A little at a time, he could do it. I think of you, I write, then erase, again and again. I have many questions, but no answers. I need you, and I need to be with you, to feel you. You take my breath away. I like waking up to your messages. It's a bit like opening my eyes to your caresses. A bit. My caresses make your eyes close. I see my reflection in you. I want to get lost inside of you. It is the wrong side because the heart is on the left, even yours, and doesn't have to work as hard if you sleep on your left. Then her hand had slipped between his shirt and the small of his head, caressing him softly. Jacopo was lying on his right side, his back turned, while she lay beside him in one of their rare, stolen moments together. It was he that remembered well. He was always lying on the wrong side. He couldn't remember if that night he had turned to the right side or if he had kept on the wrong side. He had probably laid still. He got up, walked around the bed and opened the blinds and the windows. He was hit by the deafening noise of a bus driving below. Across the street, the university building had the usual mustard yellow sulking face, like that of an inmate. He had never seen anyone looking out of those windows. The bus accelerated, engine grinding. He let out a stifled grumble at the grating noise. He turned around, grabbed a corner of the bed sheet, and pulled it to the end of the bed. To let it ventilate a little, he thought. So, looking at it now, it looked violated and done, unbeaten.
That low, too low IKEA bed, with its mattress squeezed between cheap wood beams, its fake luxury blue tartan print bed sheets with matching pillowcases, it stood there, as if defeated by yet another battle, with no hope left.
A shitty day, he knew it. He went to the bathroom, climbed the steep stairs, and went to the kitchen. What kind of a house is this? He thought. Kitchen and front door upstairs and sleeping quarters downstairs. But that was what the market was offering during his hurried search last January. He scratched his head and yawned. The kitchen, living room, sitting room area was of course spotless. There was nobody there who could mess up the apartment. It was an empty place. He opened the two glass doors to the balcony, which looked straight into the university building, too. Did you really manage to find an apartment right across the street from where my husband works? It's so crazy. And she had laughed again, hiding slightly behind the curtains as she looked at the horrible building that always looks like a prison.
He started a coffee. As he waited, he emptied the dishwasher, then got the table ready for his coffee cup, his large milk bowl, a box of cornflakes, a long-handled spoon. As soon as the coffee was ready, he sat down to eat.
Oh, Jacopo,
your caresses soothe me. I cradle myself in them and I am reborn. And I keep thinking about yesterday. Well, have a good day.
Honey, I'm here with the voice of Laura Pausini singing on the radio, and your eyes over me with their explosive charge.
Oof, a hell of a day.
The kitchen was terribly silent. Thought the room wasn't very large at all. He found it terribly empty, a thick emptiness. Between the radio and the TV there was a beanbag chair, empty, terribly empty and silent, despite the happy music playing loudly on the radio. He nudged the chair with a light touch of his foot. Oh, it's beautiful. I love this beanbag. And she leaped right on it, belly down. Then she had turned to him, while he put some cups away in the dishwasher. Yes, it's a present, say maybe 25 years ago. I was thinking on throw it away. Oh, don't even think about it. You can't do that to me. Oh, look how dirty and worn it is. I took it to be upholstered, but they said it can't be done. It's my Bloom chair. I've done a number of things on it. Is that right? With whom? He turned, looking down towards her, opened his right hand and started counting. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Then he turned towards the wide, open mouth of the dishwasher. But when she wasn't looking, he glanced at her out of the corner over his eye. She was rolling on the chair that kindly gave in to the shape of her body. He gently closed the dishwasher, took 2 steps towards her, knelt down and laid by her side. She started laughing, took his head on her hands, and started kissing his forehead and eyes. The scent of freshly brewed coffee waved its way between them. He let his hand slide under her shirt and felt her soft, smooth skin. He quivered slightly and let out a hushed sigh. A warm sensation flooded his body. "Don't even think to throw it away. Let me fix it." It can be fixed," he said in a whisper as he searched for her lips. He found them. The taste of coffee became more intense. It went straight to his brain. Then her body laid on his, giving in to its shape. The beanbag surrendered softly and silently, accompanied their slow movements. He reached for the stereo where a shrill voice yapped about some commercial and turned it off. She didn't even realize it was on. Sipping his coffee, he made the point of the situation. The night before, he had been to dinner at Mrs Pagnan's. As usual, he had drunk and eaten too much. Mrs Pagnan had been a client of his for a number of years, her and her husband. She had reminded him a few weeks prior on the phone.
"Don't forget, we're expecting you and a friend you might want to bring along."
"I appreciate that, Mrs Pagnan, but as I said, I don't have anyone to bring along. I separated from my wife 6 months ago, so..."
"Please don't give me that. I'm sure you'll find somebody. A man like you can't be alone for too long." "So, we'll be expecting you to celebrate my husband's birthday. We'll be having a garden party. But don't worry, it won't be a big hoopla. We'll be expecting you. You don't turn 75 every day, you know. I set an additional plate at the table right next to you."
He had taken the phone call as they were both at his office. She had heard the invitation and, sitting composed at the meeting room large crystal table, had smiled and crossed her arms, leaving a faintly moist mark over the glass surface. She had waited for the end of the phone call, playing with his business card, placed it in the center of the oval table, her eyes gazing into nowhere. Then, once the call was over, as she placed the business card back to her stand in the center of the table, she stretching slowly over the table and standing up straight, her hair covering her forehead, her black eyes looking straight into his, she said, "Oh, Jacopo, you should tell Mrs Pagnan that I must apologize. I am afraid I won't be able to make it for the party. You must tell her my husband wouldn't approve, but tell her that I will be there for the next birthday party. Tell her I am so sorry I cannot come this time." As she spoke the last words, she sat down on Jacopo's thighs, who welcomed her with a smile. Then there were her poems. He could see them forming in her eyes when she would stare off, seemingly into nowhere. He could recognize the scenes when she would appear to be staring into his soul that deep in her thoughts, images and emotions were filling, soon to blossom into poems for him. They could be sitting at the table, laying on the sofa, strolling the quiet streets of Padova or in his office, and he could see the scenes. He could tell when the thoughts were reaching an urgent need to be told, but the words were stopped just short of her lips by the anxious wringing of her hands. It was then that her poems would burst like a flash of lightning. Jacopo didn't care if they followed pentameter or any laws of metrics, as they definitely, probably did not. They had a rhythm of their own, a harmony that resounded deeply in his soul. It was as if they were in a language just for him. He was able to understand it all. The words were powerful scenes of suffocated passion that was forced to sleep in the heart of her daily life. These words and the feelings behind them vibrated through him and deep into his unconscious mind. He welcomed the poems and always anxiously awaited their arrival. When they came, he would print them and place them in a secret folder along with her emails and squeeze it between files on his bookcase. Well, there would be no more poems now, of course. Meanwhile, Jacopo one morning had grabbed the file where he kept it hidden and hid them again farther away, this time between two old law books on the top shelf. Even looking at the thin spine of the folder sticking out made him uneasy. But he didn't have the heart to throw them away. He knew they were there, and more often now he forgot about them. They too would soon get dusty and disappear from his consciousness, lightly floating away to a place beyond the reach of memory. Jacopo knew that the words would still continue to move in air for a long time. He hoped to be wrong. They were and always would be her poems. I age, but I don't want to say. I cry at time while I run. So my breathing grows short, it turns heavy, choked. Then it finally bursts. The air comes and goes at will, and I hang to a grid, holding on with hands and mind. Oh God, I'm hidden, and I cry. But I don't want to say. Sometimes I age when I am with you. The black cloth crumples, chancless me, stifles my every word. It holds me back, pulls my head up suddenly. When you bend over me, it splits me sometimes. I'm in shame. I lean against the wall. I turn around and it shouts. I should run away. So I twist my hands to see if I can move. Sometimes I age, but I don't want to say. My eyes can reach into the future. The present is blurred. I am blind. Yet I see that she'll be back to you. Sooner or later, she'll come and call you back. I don't know what you'll do then. I don't know the kind of man you'll be that day. But above my tears, my silence, above the black cloth that holds my tears when I am with you and turns my eyes and soul dry, above this ever-present past, above this present glow bubble, above the future, oh, the future that doesn't belong to me, maybe to my children, but not to me no more. I feel this spindly, weightless, powerful, radiant strength that rises from the earth, quickened by your breath, twining around my backbone, lending me air, gazing at me through your eyes. It gives me light, overpowering, bashful, unfolding kisses, surrounds me and unveils me, covers me and protects me from my very self. It's a silent power, gently present, asking only for time, and doesn't sink, doesn't strike, nor constrain, press inside, coerce or force. And again, it wraps around me, uncovers me, unfolds, protects and surrounds me, stretches over me strong and wise, filled with certainties and doubts, always listening to me. It's the strength of my warrior that sweats me in his golden armor, filling my chest with treasures I knew lost. It's the strength of my warrior. www.twonaked.me. Translation from Italian by Iris Cartia. Original music by Massimo Moretti for Maxmore Music. Post-production editing by Gina Lee. All mistakes are mine. If you want to see pictures of making of and life in Italy, please follow me, Nina J. Course, on Instagram and LinkedIn.